Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dylan James. I'm a mindset coach that loves to specifically focus on relationships. And today's video, I'm going to be talking about why normalizing your needs and wants being met is a central component to sustaining results within your life, but also developing an identity where you know who you are, you know what your likes, you know what your desires, you know what your wants, you know what your needs are, which is going to allow for you to not only recognize those things, but be able to receive them. So there's two things I want to talk about today, which is obviously going to be what I just brought up, the beliefs that are going to allow for you to normalize those things, but also the importance of nervous system regulation so that as these things are coming in, your body is able to feel safe with receiving them. Now, again, I'm going to talk about foundationally why this is important. So if you grow up in an environment where your parents are either wrapped up in their own drama for whatever reason, or they're not attentive with you in the ways that you needed, then most likely you developed an identity where having your needs, wants, likes, and desires being met, honored, supported was not a consistent thing. And when that's not a consistent thing, you may find as an adult, you really don't know what your likes are. You really don't have any particular hobbies. You don't really have any sort of interests. You're kind of just going through life, listening to what other people are doing, or just kind of entertaining random things and then realizing you're not really that into them. This also affects relationships as well too, right? Because if I don't know what my likes are, what my desires are, what my wants or what my needs are, then I'm going to set an example where I accept things that I don't like, or I'm going to be showing up in ways that create a dynamic that I don't actually find fulfilling. And then, obviously over time, resentment is going to build and sustaining a healthy relationship is going to be difficult because you're feeling like your wants and needs aren't being met, and you're not even really sure what those things are. So again, we have to take two things into consideration here, which is our foundational experiences, but also the belief system we're operating from outside of those foundational experiences, which in all honesty comes from those experiences. And so if you grew up in an environment where your needs, wants, likes, and desires were not honored, that's going to be where it's really useful to recontextualize that with statements like, I'm realizing that my wants, likes, needs, and desires always deserve to be honored when I was younger. I'm realizing that I always deserved to have my wants, needs, likes, and desires fulfilled when I was younger. I'm realizing that I deserve to have parents that met my emotional needs and wants when I was younger. I'm realizing that I always deserve to have parents that supported my needs and wants when I was younger. I'm realizing when I was younger, I always deserved to understand what my true likes and desires were. And so, again, just foundationally smoothing that over. And then, in our present day way of operating, I'm beginning to normalize having my needs, wants, likes, and desires fulfilled. I'm beginning to realize what my true needs, wants, likes, and desires are. It's becoming a normal experience for me to receive my true needs, likes, wants, and desires. And then the nervous system component to that is my body and my nervous system is starting to feel safe with receiving my true needs, wants, likes, and desires. My nervous system is starting to accept my ability to have my true needs, wants, likes, and desires in my life. Any sort of statement that just allows that implies that your nervous system and your body is accepting, allowing yourself to receive and open to receiving those things. Okay. So if we can smooth these things over from a belief standpoint, then the next step is to just make sure that you're adopting daily habits where you're reinforcing this with meditation and you're also doing activities to regulate your nervous system so that your body feels safe with taking on these beliefs. Now, as you go about adopting these beliefs and regulating your nervous system, you're going to find that you start to come into new natural awarenesses for what those things look like to you. And that can be so random, like maybe you realize you really like to draw, or you really like to paint, or you really like horses, or you really like working out, you really like nails or hair or, sports, whatever it may be, you're going to start to develop an identity and realize what you actually enjoy, not only within hobbies, but also in a relationship, right? You're going to begin to realize, oh, I really like when men show up for me this way, or oh, I really like dynamics with women like this. Once we're aware of what we want, what we need, what we like, what our desires are, and we normalize receiving those things from a belief standpoint, but also a nervous system regulation standpoint, you're going to be able to navigate reality much more confidently, uphold boundaries, say no, walk away from things that don't align with your beliefs, your values, your wants, your likes, your needs, and your desires. You're going to be able to walk away without feeling guilty. Okay. Or you're going to be able to say no when people try and give you things that aren't congruent with what your personal needs, wants, likes, and desires are. This is also going to prevent you from establishing dynamics with people over time where your wants, needs, likes, and desires aren't being fulfilled, and you're silently accepting it and then building resentment. So this is definitely a foundational thing. Of course, within our identity, if we don't know what we like, what we want, what we desire, what our needs are, then we're going to just be going about life kind of aimlessly, knowing that we're not happy, but not sure on what that really looks like or how to step into a version of ourselves that can create that. So this is definitely important. I hope you gained something from today's video and you're able to immediately implement things to develop an identity with yourself and ultimately an experience within your life where you're feeling fulfilled and you're actually entertaining and creating the things that you want, you like, you need, and you desire. Okay, because you deserve to have those things fulfilled. And that first begins with developing an identity where you understand what those things are, you normalize perceiving them, you normalize having them. I hope you all have a beautiful day. I'll see you all later. And yeah, that's it. Bye.